Welcome to today's episode of Heart-Led Changemakers. I am thrilled to introduce my extra special guest, Lisa Kasiaras, affectionately known as my little ray of sunshine. With over 15 years of experience in the CEO and leadership space, Lisa has truly made her mark in the business world. Having worn many hats during her career at the CEO Institute, she most recently served as the Global Manager of Licensing and Operations, where she led the Institute's international expansion strategy. Her ability to develop and foster strong, mutually beneficial relationships with organizations was a key to their growth. Lisa is also my incredible business partner for the Heart-Led Liberation Retreats, and together we're committed to empowering leaders and creating transformative experiences for those who are ready to embrace their heart-centered leadership. I am positive you're going to be inspired by her energy and insights. So let's get started. Lisa, welcome to Heart-Led Changemakers.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for that wonderful welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled to be on this podcast with you today and to just share some thoughts about our new venture, Heart-Led Liberation Retreats, that's close to both of our hearts.
It is. It so is. So I thought maybe we could share how we met because that really was the beginning of all of this, really, wasn't it? So do you want to go through from do you want me to share my perspective first on how we met, or do you want to go first?
Oh, either way, I think it's pretty much the same.
Well, I'm moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, and I applied for a job at the Swatch Group. And when I interviewed there, I felt so good about starting there. And after my experience at the previous corporate that I was working at, I understood there are some key people to have on side. And so from my perspective, I knew that I needed to get to know the executive assistant to the managing director, because the executive assistants, they have a lot of intel, a lot of influence. And so just in my mind's eye, I thought that's someone that I need to know. But what ended up happening is we met, and I just fell in love with you straight away. I just knew that we were going to be friends, and that really kicked. It was literally from day one. It was just an immediate yes from my perspective. And so for you,
Yeah, for me as well. I remember the day that you were interviewed. The manager that interviewed you, she came straight round and sat in my visitor's chair and said, "I have just interviewed a mini you." And I just started laughing. I said to her, "How do you know? It was just a job interview." She said, "The energy was just amazing. It was exactly the same energy that you've got." And so when I met you, it was immediate. Just
yeah.
like you said, we just connected. So, it was a special, special friendship that has just continued to grow and blossom.
It has. I mean, I wasn't at Swatch Group long. I ended up leaving there, and then you ended up leaving there as well. And then we started working together at the CEO Institute. And that experience together, we had so much time reflecting on the CEO journey, the support that the CEOs needed, and especially because I was assisting you with the marketing side of things. That was, I think that was like such a beautiful foundational step for us, because we had to have a lot of conversations about how to market to CEOs, how to talk to them, how to connect with them. So as part of that, we needed to understand their needs, and that has really helped influence
Absolutely.
what we're doing now. But that whole journey from beginning to end, even our trips away, we've had a lot of trips away together. We've spoken a lot about how to live a life that's heartfelt and full. And that to me what has really led to this. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And, the thing that really attracted me and like got my energy levels just skyrocketing when you first started talking about these retreats was the word heart led. I know the Heart-Led Changemakers, but Heart-Led to me is it just resonates because really the foundation of all of our motivations is the heart. And so when we reach our true and authentic heart, and in turn we can reach the heart of others, it really has a profound impact. And what excites me most is to see the transformation in participants, in their attitudes, and what they take away into their lives, and the impact that that has on everyone around them, from family to their teams to work culture. All of that is involved because the heart is involved.
Yes, and me, both of us are so passionate about being in the heart space. We wear both of us wear our hearts on our sleeves. There's full transparency. And even when we're out and about, how many times I've lost count of how many times the groups of people, like, the tables around us are intrigued by why we're so having so much fun, why we're beaming. They want to get in on the action. And so that
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
that translates into the work that we do together, and especially on the retreats, I feel like that really comes to life. That there is a real engagement and a very nurturing support as part of that experience. But the thing that I love about how this sort of started for us is you were about, well, you did. You retired, I think, for about one day when I did a meditation. So this is what's happened. This is how we became business partners. Um, Lisa was retiring. That was all that was in and of itself a big transition. But in the meantime, I was in a meditation and I had this vision about these retreats, and I had the visualization of where it was. It was near the ocean, but it was in like a sanctuary sort of style. It was very There was a lot of greenery around, even though it was close to the ocean. But also I saw a fire pit, and I saw the interaction around the fire in the meditation. And I got out of that meditation and I instantly felt like I didn't want to do that by myself. I didn't want to run a retreat, even though capable, definitely. I didn't want to. And I knew just 100% this is a me and Lisa retreat. This is it's me and her together doing this. But I was like, but she's just, said she's retiring. She may not actually want to do any work now, but I thought I'll just throw a little text message to you. And I said, I know that you've said you're retiring, but how do you feel about, no, I think I said, are you open to a conversation about this? And you were like, yeah, yeah, of course. And so then we chatted on the phone and I took you through, and you saw the vision straight away. And it seemed like there was no question in your mind that that felt like the right thing.
Absolutely, no question at all. It was the right thing. And, while you're talking now, and you mentioned the meditation and the vision that you saw in your mind about these retreats, that's the first time you've actually described that to me with the fire pit and all the rest of it.
Is it?
We hadn't talked about that
Surely
before.
no.
Yeah, we had.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was, and here's another thing that connects us. When I was researching venues for our retreats and I came across Tumbling Waters, it was like, this is the place we're going to. There was no question. And that perfectly describes what you saw in your meditation. The
Yeah,
vision that you had
yeah,
for the retreats is what the reality was that I had found. And so
yeah,
the connection between, how we think and how we feel, the two of us, it just marries. It just
yeah.
marries up so well. And of course, I was going to jump at the opportunity of working with you once again,
Yeah, of course.
especially after the successes we've had in the past.
Absolutely. And we're like a fine-tuned, instrument really. We lift each other up. We just know each other's
We just
energy.
know.
We know what each other's like. We know what each other needs as well. But
Yeah.
in that initial conversation, you saw the vision, and it felt like an instant yes for you. I didn't even need to really sort of sell it to you or convince you. You saw it. But the thing that I love about it is, we're kind of teaching people how to relive the things that they've forgotten, the aspects of themselves they've forgotten, and the best parts of life. And when we've traveled and when we spend time together, we spend so much time reveling in each other's energy, reveling in the places that we are, whether it's at a local restaurant or away somewhere, whatever we're doing, even at the beach, we are reveling all of the time. And so the venue Tumbling Waters not just captures a place that fits the meditation, but it fits the things that we love as well, because both of us are quite bougie. We love the luxe aspect as well. So this, what we've put together, from the program to the whole experience to the actual venue itself, really talks to what lights us up and what brings us joy, and we just want to share that. And I love that we've got so much of that in common. Like, we just, that's why it's a together thing, because I have only really enjoyed things like that with you because you revel so much in that same experience too.
Yeah. And I must admit, that really boils down to my dad. He was the same. Like, he would savor every mouthful of food. He would savor every experience. He just loved, being in that moment. And that's what the retreats are all about. Being in the moment, sharing it with people that have a genuine passion to improve, to develop, and sometimes, get out of their comfort zone, and grow, but also to enjoy and to feel nurtured and loved. And that's what I think you and I both bring to the table.
Yes, and but in saying that, if you reflect back with me now, right? When I first moved to Melbourne, I was a broken shell. I was off the back of four miscarriages and a divorce. There was basically nothing left of me. I was still, I was at the beginning of a lot of repair that needed to happen. And I lost, I didn't, I actually, I was lost, completely lost. And I know I make fun of this often, but I'm like, I don't even know how we're still friends when I had to go through that whole journey. Like, you poor thing. But you, being friends with you and learning from you, you taught me how to live a life in revel, in joy, to want for more, to allow myself to have more. Even though I was doing the kinesiology side of things, I was having a lot of therapy, I was meditating, and I was doing all of this, all of the really important things for you know mindful repair, and from a nervous system perspective, those other things, day to day, because we were spending so much time together and because we were working together as well, you were naturally, without consciously maybe realizing, you were actually teaching me how, you were teaching me the tools on how to live a life of joy. And that's why I call you my little ray of sunshine, because you you show me how to do that all the time. And even after a few months of being away from you, now that I'm back in Adelaide and when we reconnect, I'm like, oh my God, I've got room to really expand this back up again. Like, it starts to like tilt it back down, even though I'm doing all these other beautiful self-care things, and I'm definitely in a different place than I was when we met. But that is a testament to what you learnt with your dad. And look at how that translates to the people around you. Even just, even me, right from the beginning all the way through, I'm still learning.
Yeah, look, we all are still learning, and that's the beauty of life,
Yeah.
to keep learning. But don't forget that I'd already been through all of, the heartache of a divorce and issues with, nurturing my children through it, and all of that. So I was in a space where I could give back to a friendship in that capacity. And it was an absolute delight to be with you through those darker days, but also to see the growth in you. And talking about the kinesiology, like, the way you've helped my family through that, I'll be forever grateful for that because, as you know, my boys are flourishing in their lives, particularly, Pete, the family, the business that he's got, the way they operate with their partners, all of that stems from, the nurturing from, their grandparents, but also the time spent with you, and what we've grown through.
Yeah, I mean, it has been it was an absolute gift for me to help Pete in particular with the kinesiology side of things and see his life transform. But it was just really an activation. I didn't see him for very long. He didn't need, even didn't need it. He just needed a slight little tweak, and look at the success that he's had. Look at the beautiful family that he's created. That the divine masculine that he is, the way he's connected with his children and his wife, that he's a full masculine provider. He understands how to keep a balance. And I feel like, um, because of the journey that we've been on together, this is what we are doing to help the CEOs that come and join us on the retreat, because they've lost their way a little bit. The wheels have slightly started to fall off. The self-care has fallen away, and they've just forgotten a little bit about how to keep that balance. But the journey that we have been on together, separately and together, really mimics why we can support them, because of what we've been through, because of what we've learned. And it is, I to date, I still can't see that that's on offer anywhere else. And that's what really excites me about the retreats. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, like, the heart-led leadership retreats is something different. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of professional development programs for CEOs and leadership and all the rest of it. And I think we're all a little bit tired of, the it words of the moment. But these retreats are really empowering. Um, they're designed to strengthen trust. They're helping CEOs invest in themselves, to lead with empathy, compassion, leave the ego at the door and embrace humility, because that creates an environment where growth can happen, and it contributes in turn to a robust and dynamic business.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want to be part of. And you and I were privileged to work for a man that encompassed all of that at the CEO Institute.
Yeah.
You know how much I care about Ken Gunn, who was the founder of the CEO Institute. He taught me a lot through his example. I don't have to say much more than that, but everything that that man encompasses is what brings together the qualities that we want to expand on at these retreats. And, a lot of people talk about emotional intelligence. And yes, it is important, but it's the ability to understand ourselves first, and then others, and recognize how our feelings and our understanding of ourselves impact others,
Yeah.
and be mindful about what that impact then leads to. So that's a big difference. Most of the leadership and professional development programs talk about strategy, business planning, and, operational excellence, and all of that is important. But when you combine that with the heart,
Yeah.
then, you know, opportunities are limitless, because you take the culture of an organization with you.
Yes.
It's not just about leading people and taking them with you on a journey. It's about really making a change, and, those around you seeing that change and wanting to be part of that change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why it's just so close to my heart.
Of course, but I mean that's why we love this so much. But it comes down to meaningful connections, doesn't it? It is about allowing
Absolutely.
yourself to be real and to deepen your connection. And I feel like people are like just generally, not just CEOs, but just in general, people are afraid to deepen their connection. And I know that we both are challenged by that because we both love deep connections. You're a projector as well, the same as I am. So the deeper the better. And I think that's why we're able to be in so much joy because it's like swimming in the ocean. Even that is our favorite place, the ocean. But there is it is something that I feel like what I've witnessed, and I'm wondering if you've seen that too, is that that's what sparks in these retreats is the fact that it is a space and an opportunity to deepen within, but also deepen with the other CEOs in that environment. And because there's only 10, it is so intimate and it's
Yep.
so personal, and there is so much care and safety for the softening that I feel like that is why it sparks. When you know when you
Absolutely. And yeah,
yeah,
while you were talking, I was just thinking, purposefully, we have made these retreats small in number. There's only
yeah,
10 spaces each time.
yeah,
Um, and we're ensuring that our participants are all from non-competing industries,
yeah,
and they all sign a confidentiality agreement. So we're trying to make it as safe a place as possible so that they can relax, release their fears, share their experiences, because as we know, shared experiences is, really a basis for learning.
yeah,
And it's a really good basis for learning because when you hear someone's story, the takeaways are real. It's not just book learning,
yeah,
it's about real meaningful connections. And they forge lasting friendships that are based on, mutual trust and benefit.
yeah.
Because ultimately, from a business point of view, if you trust who you're working with, of course you're going to have benefit on both sides, and that's what we're after with these retreats to allow people the space to connect in that really meaningful way.
Yes, I 100% agree. And trust is the big ticket item across the board. So in the organizations that I'm in the world that we live in, trust is the issue because the patriarchy, if you will, has created a distrust that is so severe that now men in particular are really at the brunt of, right? But men don't trust women and women don't trust men. We can't trust what the government is doing. We can't trust this. We can't trust that. We don't know what's going to happen next. Everything keeps changing and the world is moving so fast now that everything's becoming very unpredictable. When you look at interest rates, for example, and food prices and all of that, that everything is so out of your control that it is enhancing the distrust. But when you're leading large organizations as a CEO, you can't be in that mindset. You have to be the one that's leading, and therefore you have to be the anchor point, but you can't be distrustful and full of shame. And most of this is unconscious shame and grief and guilt. You can't be holding all of those things and leading in your at your 10 out of 10. You can't be a 10 out of 10 leader and still have a full distrust of yourself, of the people around you, and the people in your organization. And so I feel very much that because it is a safe space where there is no one from a competing industry, there is no one, everything is confidential. It means that there's really no excuse for you to hold on to that distrust. But as part of the program, as you know, we work through the distrust. We work through the distrust of self, and then we work through the distrust with others, and we take them through a process where they're reclaiming all of that back, and then releasing all of the other things that they're doing with the techniques that we
That's
use.
right.
And it is
Exactly.
intense.
So it's really
Yeah,
identifying and releasing those limiting beliefs,
yeah,
because that really is what's holding us back.
yeah,
And a, a lot of the time, we don't even recognize that they're limiting
yeah,
beliefs. So a key to these retreats is to identify and then release those limiting beliefs. And heart-led leaders really are the future of business,
yeah,
because that's the seat of motivation.
yeah,
That's what motivates us to keep going.
yeah,
It's what motivates us to strive for more. It's what motivates us to connect
yeah,
authentically with people,
yeah,
whether that's, personal relationships or business relationships.
yeah,
So I'm really excited about the impact that our retreats can have. And, again, reiterating the fact that it's such a small group, it allows the space
yeah,
for people to feel comfortable, and for you and I to nurture them through that process.
yeah,
Because, I mean, you go to a networking function and how do you start conversations? Who do you talk to? We've all been there, the
yeah,
awkwardness. But the job that you and I see that you and I have is to firstly make them comfortable
yeah.
with themselves and with those around them, so that we can really get into some impactful conversations.
Yeah, and that first night when we have dinner together, we start off like that. It is a get to know you, and we have intentionally set things in place to really speed that process up, but personal and connected. It's not, go around the table and introduce yourself and tell us your name and all of that awful clinical crap. We don't do that. That's not what happens here. It is all about being nurtured. And it's over 3 days. It's not even a long period of time, but it is an intense time. It's a very intense
Yep,
time. You are
it
that,
is. Yeah.
that we are all very present there, but three days is enough to change the trajectory, don't you think?
Absolutely, it is. And, I mean, they're busy people. They
Yeah,
don't have the luxury of stepping out of the business for so long. So, 3 days, that can really have an impact on them personally and professionally. It's not a huge amount of time,
yeah,
but what we go through in those 3 days is huge. And the fact that, the nurturing and the support continues
yeah,
after the retreats as well. That's really important. It's not just the takeaways after the 3 days, it's what you learn to take with you after the retreat that will change and work how, increase how you um, perceive the work and also those around you.
yeah, absolutely.
That really is the key, to make an impact on those around you. And I think, if we can change 10 CEOs at a time into leading with their heart, imagine the impact that would have on our communities.
Yeah,
They're the leaders of the community. Um, if they learn to tap into their authentic heart and their motivations are based on, heart-led leadership, it's just limitless.
yes, absolutely. How do you think, I mean, for any CEOs that are listening, how do you think we can help them get past taking that 3 day break away from their families, away from their organizations? Like, what do you think we could share that would help that side of things?
Look, I think it's that's a it's a difficult one in that they have to be able to see a value add.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to be able to demonstrate is the fact that, yes, it's 3 days, but it's really 3 days that will impact years. It's, it's more important that what happens after the 3 days.
Yeah.
The 3 days is an investment
Yeah.
in what happens in the years to come. It really is an investment. And it's an investment in self, it's an investment in family, it's an investment in business relationships. It impacts every aspect of your life. So, um, if the CEOs that are out there are missing something, and I know most of them are,
Yeah.
this is an opportunity to work on those things and find the missing links
Yeah.
and get back to the heart of things.
Especially because they're so lonely at the top there. We've known that for years. I mean, we've known each other now, what, nearly 15 years, something crazy like that. And it is, even from the very beginning, we know that CEOs are very lonely at the top and they find it very hard to have the opportunity to share and confide in what they're feeling on a personal level. There's a lot of professional development that goes on. There are a lot of professional development programs and business coaches where they share bits and pieces around that, but nothing dedicated to the personal side of things. But that's where I feel the strength is in our connection in our offering is they don't need another man or another masculine telling them how to get through what they need to get through, even though there are some really great men's programs out there to get them strengthening in their masculine. And there's a time and a place for that. This isn't about that. This is about going into the heart space and having that nurture and that healing in order to then step into that real masculine energy. You can't have one without the other. Like I don't
Yeah,
see how you could.
absolutely.
And that's why I think our dynamic and the qualities that we bring to the table really enhance that experience and really create an expansiveness and a container, very safe container for them to just feel, just to take some time, those 3 days, just to feel. That's really all that it is. It is just getting them
Yeah, it
reconnected
is.
to their body, calming the nervous system down. That's why the somatic practices are really important in there. But it is also an awakening and an initiation. And it's, even though there are, you know, whether you want to name it that or not, there are like some elements that are a bit more spiritually inclined. It's not actually, the retreat isn't about that. The retreat is just a reconnection. And it is important because you can't keep pushing. As a CEO, you can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing with all the mechanical
Absolutely
professional
not.
things. It's not working. And we saw that in the
Yeah,
in the in the
exactly.
we saw that in the notes and in the reflections each month, that the CEOs were sharing that this was a gap in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact is that programs like what we ran at the CEO Institute, what I learned from those is that the core group of members of each cohort did start to trust each other, did start to share and connect, and that's where the real value of that came about. So that translates really well into what we're doing. It's a small group. Right from the outset, I think you mentioned before when you and I go out, for dinner or for lunch or whatever, in breakfast, there's always someone that wants to get in on our conversations, that
Yeah,
wants to connect. They're just drawn to it. I think that's the energy that we bring, and that's the energy that's going to make these CEOs relax straight off the bat.
yeah,
That afternoon where they arrive, we have, pre-dinner drinks and sit down and have a meal together. The number around the table, the 10 CEOs,
yeah,
it's not difficult to immediately create an ease and a safe space and the rapport that we need. And intuitively, you can read body language. We'll know when we're sitting around that table on the first night, this person needs a bit more support or a bit more encouragement, or, so you can tailor how you interact
Yes.
to make sure that everyone is feeling they're in a safe space.
Yes. And that's
Because,
I
the
mean,
more they share, the more they'll
yeah.
get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, each group is different. The dynamic is different every time because you've got 10 new people. And that's
Absolutely.
why, because there is only 10, it is very tailor-made. It is not, you're not just another number in the mix of things. It is very tailored, and the level of care is how we care about our each other, ourselves, our families. We bring that care and that love and that heart to them. And that's why I love that we're the feminine providing the nurturing for that space. And that is the point of difference, I think, for our retreats. We are a safe space for CEOs, but when you look at the percentage of males versus females at that level, they're mostly men. So our assumption is that it's probably more likely going to be men. Doesn't mean women can't attend and still get the same benefits. Absolutely. However, it is very personal and very tailored. And even taking into account what's happening in the world, like the outside influences, we incorporate that in. So it's not a cookie cutter approach in any way, shape, or form. And we tweak and tweak again. Sometimes what's scheduled may get pushed out a little bit because something else is really important and they need more time in one specific place. Sometimes there are additional things thrown in that weren't even on the program because they've been able to move through things quite quickly. And one of the benefits of working with men in particular is the male and female brain work very differently, but the male brain, once they've understood a concept and they get it, they can move through things much faster than women can. The female brain, I liken it to a ball of wool strings, right? And each string is another issue, right? But they're all interconnected. The male brain isn't actually like that. And I learnt that when I was a kinesiologist, the way men were able to move so much faster through a process and through healing than females. And it's just the way we're wired. It's annoying that they can move through things faster, but it's good. And that's why 3 days is a lot, because like we were saying, it's so intense, but they're able to shift through things, and because it is tailor made depending on what is needed for each individual. And we do a lot around that before the retreat even happens, because we interview them, we
Yes.
talk to them, we have one-on-ones with them to really gain a perspective. So we're not going in there blind, no one's going in there cold. They're even meeting
Yeah.
each other online before we go ahead, so there are a
That's
lot of
right.
things.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there are a lot of things
Yeah.
in place that make that process and that surrender really easy. But the feminine nurturing, I think, yeah, like I said, is the point of difference.
Absolutely it is. Yeah. And, as you said, going through that selection process to come on the retreat, meeting them one on one. Obviously, it's on Zoom, but it's and having them all together, meet each person as well. You know, they come to the retreat and then they're face to face with people that they've already had a conversation with.
Yeah.
So it makes that whole process. It speeds up that whole process, which is phenomenal for us because we want to pack in as much as we can into those 3 days,
Yeah.
um, and as you say, tailor it. So depending on the dynamic of the group,
Yeah.
things can change. What we discuss, what we go through, and so having the flexibility and the ability to tailor it to the requirements of the group, that's a huge plus as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. You know what one of my other favorite parts of the retreat is? My other favorite part is there's no restrictions. This is not a you will not have any alcohol, you will not eat any food that isn't organic and that the blah blah, even though the food actually at Tumbling Waters is organic and all farm based and all of that, which is really lovely. There are no restrictions. You can do whatever you want, however much or less you want. You can it is not a program of um, you must do A, B, C, and D. This is about letting all of the CEOs who attend, letting them be in their physical body. That part's the really important part at the beginning, being in the physical body and making choices from there without restriction, without the rules. The whole part of the problem there's been too much rules and too much restriction. There's no
Yeah,
fun. There's
yeah.
no heart.
And
There's
you
no
can't
revelry. There's no
exactly.
revelry.
You can't absolutely. Once you start putting in restrictions and parameters, you take the heart out of it.
Yeah.
We're not about a checklist.
No.
We're about authenticity. We're about, removing the restrictions, about enjoying what we've got in front of us. Contentment.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
Contentment is huge. And I remember having a discussion with someone years ago about this topic. And he said to me, "Oh, does that mean, you're happy with mediocre?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Contentment isn't about, settling.
Yeah.
Contentment is about being in the moment, being grateful,
Yeah.
being mindful. All of those things together create place of contentment. Today, I'm content with what I've got in front of me. Tomorrow, that changes, but
Yeah.
I've got to find contentment in that.
Yeah.
And you continually strive for better, you continually strive for higher.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's how we progress. But also, being mindful of, being content
Yeah.
in every aspect of our life.
Yeah. And it's not to say, um, because even though there are no restrictions, it's not to say, it's like a booze fest or anything like that. That's not either, right? Because you're doing things in extremes and so that's not a balance. But it is being present in the moment with what you like. And this is what you taught me, and this is what I mentioned earlier, right? Like I was saying that you taught me how to relive because you taught me how to savor every aspect of my life. And I was rushing through at a million miles an hour, as you know, you witnessed that for a long, a long to decondition from that took a long time, um, years to decondition. You poor thing. But the we're teaching people
I
how to.
survived.
Yes, I know you did, and that's why I cherish you so much. That's how I know we're besties because you stayed the journey, you stayed the course. It just makes me laugh every time. But the you taught me how to just enjoy every morsel, every mouthful, every aspect. And when we're out, that's what we're doing. When like you said, at breakfast or dinner or wherever we are, people are noticing that we're behaving like that, and
Yeah,
they want in. And so this retreat is that, right? You can come and join in and get in on the action so that you are
yeah,
remembering what it feels like to live that way and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's not about material things, it's not about numbing out or anything like that. It is not about restrictions and let's do 60 yoga poses even though I love yoga. It's not about shocking our systems into ice baths. It's nothing of that. It is really tapping right in to be present. And then when you can be present with yourself, you're feeling all the feelings, including the discomfort, which is an important aspect of this retreat. The value add comes from the breakthrough with that side of things, from my perspective, anyway. And that is done with a lot of gentleness and care, but it is about allowing yourself to feel the array of emotions and the array of feelings. And then you can be fully anchored in your heart and then go out into the big wide world. You can reconnect with your partner. You can reconnect with your children. You can reconnect with your clients and your teams as well, and your whole
Yeah.
organization, with your board, even when they feel that they
Yes.
and feel that reignition and the passion, then they're going to re-engage with you. Then the dynamic changes. That's how you create change. And that's why I think the 3 days is an investment, because it goes beyond, like the opportunities are limitless. But I feel like it is life changing.
Absolutely. We want it to be life changing
Yeah.
because, the fact is that we're so busy doing, particularly CEOs, leading organizations. They're responsible for this, responsible for that. They don't have or haven't had the luxury of really nurturing their heart,
Yeah.
of really finding out what that heart really is all about.
Yeah.
We want them to be able to experience that, and having no restrictions allows them to be their true and authentic self,
Yeah.
break down the barriers that they've built up,
Yeah.
move forward. And as you say, that translates into every aspect of life. And we want it to do that because we want to reach the heart.
Yeah.
That's the main goal.
Yeah. And we're,
Yeah,
we're sharing our hearts, and we want them to share theirs too, because that's what heart-led change making is. It is allowing people to
exactly.
feel and see you in all of the aspects, including the vulnerability. And it is a leap. It is. And it may feel uncomfortable to explore that side of things, but it is what is needed now. The old ways of working through things are just not working anymore. They're just not. And we've seen that over and over and over
Yeah,
again with our all of the years that we spent at the CEO Institute working with CEOs
absolutely.
directly.
People,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. People are sick of buzzwords and this model and that model.
yeah,
Let's get back to reality. Let's
yeah.
get back to our humanness.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what people are craving, and
Yeah.
not just in the business world, but generally
Yeah.
that connection to our humanness.
Yeah.
How many times do you go out and everyone's face is down looking at their screens? There's
Yeah.
no, interaction anymore. Like just even on public transport,
Yeah.
people don't even say good morning to each other.
No, my
You
my
know,
my worst thing is when you walk down the street and you smile at somebody and they don't smile back at you, and you're like, how bad
they
must your
look
life be
away.
that yeah, they look away, and it's like, oh
Yeah,
no, that's sad.
yeah, exactly. And we need to get back to that humanness, and every little bit that we can do
Yeah,
personally, I think helps towards that. We've got to live it.
yeah,
We've got to live it. We've got to believe it. Because if we don't, then anyone that attends
yeah,
isn't going to either. So we've got to believe it. And we do.
yeah,
We've seen the magnetism that we have when we're together and when we're collaborating and
yeah,
working together. I remember some of the campaigns that we ran at the CEO Institute. They were the most successful campaigns
yeah,
that we
yeah,
ran,
yeah,
marketing campaigns.
yeah,
Um, so I have no doubt whatsoever that you and I working together, you know, so closely with a common purpose, who knows what we can do with that.
that you're
The
reminding.
sky's the limit, as
Yeah,
they say.
sky is the limit. That's the whole point of this global transformation. But I'm just remembering now when we did that email campaign, we wrote those emails with from the heart space. Looking back now, they were from the heart space.
They
they
were.
weren't clinical. It was very personal. And we ended up having, from memory, it was like 73% response rate. Was it 73? Was it higher than that?
Yeah, it was. Uh, yeah, look, in the high
So,
70s from
yeah,
memory.
yeah, which is unheard
Yeah,
of
it
in an email
was
campaign for a
absolutely.
response.
Yeah,
You know, it
yeah,
wasn't, that's
Res-
not, the
yeah,
open rate was like, I think 98 or 99%, which was great. But the actual
yeah.
response to the emails for more
Response.
information, or even just to say, can you retouch base with me in a couple of months' time? But
Yeah,
that only happens, those results only happen because you're connecting personally. And that is, again,
exactly.
that is why we need more at that level. Those CEOs at that high level, we need them back in their heart space, because they've got so much influence and they have so much impact, and we
And
need them
so
to.
much to offer as
Yes.
well.
And the best part is, it's not actually about them doing more. Like, we need them to do this work, but what we're asking them is to do less by coming into the heart space. Because when you're in your heart space, you realize you don't have to be the be all and end all, because there's a trust there. There's a trust with yourself, there's a trust with your people. So it's not actually about doing more or being more, which I feel like a lot of men
Yeah,
think, oh, if I go to this retreat means I have to be more and do more. You actually don't. What we're saying to you is, we need you to slow down and take a break and come and nurture, so that you can step back in revitalized, re-energized, and clear. So you're not chasing tails, you're not forcing things, you're not frustrated, you're not reacting, you're being more proactive, because you're anchored and
exactly.
settled. Yeah. And even when you
Yeah.
think about the relationships these CEOs would be in, that's going to have such a significant impact there as well.
Yeah, it does. It has a very significant impact because, as I said before, we want them to leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
We want them to feel like they can be vulnerable. And being vulnerable is not weakness. Actually, being vulnerable is a strength.
Yeah.
And learning what true empathy is. All of those qualities, the compassion, when you go back into your organization as a leader and your team sees that, of course they're going to trust. Of
Yeah.
course they want to be part of it.
Yeah.
It just, because it's from the heart, um, people just gravitate that way.
Yeah.
Um, I talked about Ken before. I would do anything for him. Whatever he asked,
Yeah.
was nothing was too much. I would make it happen
Yeah.
because I valued him as a human being. I valued his heart space.
Yeah.
And that's what teams will do,
Yeah.
and make it a successful organization, a nimble organization,
Yeah.
one that, is future proof.
Yes. That is future proof. I love that so much.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I could talk about the retreats and what we're doing together for hours, and the way that we see life and all of the things. I am so I'm just my favorite thing around what is on offer this year is the retreats, the stuff that I'm doing with you, because it feels like play to me. Even though we are so responsible, it's very responsible around the delivery and all of those things, but it feels easy to me doing that with you, because we're on the same page. We see life the same way. Our want for that transformation for those CEOs is the same. And so it feels like my playtime, when it really isn't. I'm working, of course, but it feels so joyful. And I hope that you feel like that too.
Absolutely, and that's what we want to bring. We
Yeah.
want these people that come to these retreats to find joy,
Yeah.
to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, all of those things are connected back to our heart
Yeah.
and our humanity.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's how we feel about spending time with each other.
Yeah.
But that's contagious,
Yeah.
I
And that
think.
that's the outcome. The joy part is the outcome. And there is the initial, we need to look at some of the darker places and some of the darker spots that maybe we've been ignoring, and that can draw up some grief. There's no denying that. There may be some emotional moments and some, heartstring moments in there, absolutely, but you can't experience joy, true joy, without looking at that aspect. You can't, because you need you have to have the contrast. You need to look at what is preventing the joy. And that journey, and I was saying this on another podcast today where I was being interviewed. It is, to me, that transformation is a miracle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the word for it. It is. And it's a miracle that we can create
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
ourselves. That's the thing. The
Yeah.
beauty of it is that it's up to us.
Yeah.
It really is up to us. Yeah.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I love you. You know that I do. I absolutely adore you. I'm
It's
glad I wore you down. I know you were like, do I have to come on the podcast? Yes. How could I not have you on the podcast? It's
I'm
been
glad
so
you did. I'm glad you wore me down. It's been fantastic. It's just like chatting, like our normal chats, really.
exactly. This is how we always
We could
are.
go on, we could go on forever, but yeah, obviously time is against
Yeah.
us.
We're two little chatterboxes. But it's been so good to share about this work that we're doing, and to get your perspective on why it's important for the CEOs as well, and why you're passionate about it too.
Thanks, Marianne. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to our next retreat.
Yes, in May. Woohoo!
Yeah,
All good.
great.
All right, thanks, gorgeous. I'll see you soon.
Okay, talk soon.